It is a great privilege to introduce Ankur Warikoo back to campus. And as my friend Shashwat likes to say, when somebody like Ankur is presenting, it's the introducer who needs introduction, not without any further ado, please take it away.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, that's Bhagwan for all of you. Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be amongst all of you, and particularly to be on campus. I'm here after 3 years, and the last time I was here was late 2019, and then something happened in the world, and then we were just those all came back, and I love the weather that I've come to. It's wonderful to see such a green campus. I have my colleague Aditya Veridi. He is here. We entered the gate of ISB, and no, he's from Pune, so clearly hasn't seen much spaces in life. So, I'm from ठीक है. And then he's like, college कहाँ है? College कहाँ है? And we're driving, and like, peacock आएंगे, ये आएंगे, लोग आएंगे. Like, college कहाँ है? It's like you haven't even, like, atrium is 20% of the college, my friends. You haven't even seen anything. But it's such a pleasure to be here. How many of you here are ISB students? Current ISB students? Oh, a lot of people. जो नहीं भी है वो भी हाथ खड़ा कर रहे हैं. Maybe PPO मिल जाए. I graduated from the batch of 2006. So I came to ISB in 2005, which was the 5th batch of ISB. And professor by the name of Jagmohan Raju, he steps into his class and he conducts one of the finest marketing classes that I've been part of. He steps in and it's the most jovial Sardar that you'll meet in life. And he's like, what is wrong with all of you? I'm like, what? Like, why did you take so much of risk to come to ISB? Like, this is like the 5th batch. The school hasn't even proven itself. What is wrong with all of you? I was like, whoa, that is, हम एक दूसरे के चेहरे देख रहे हैं, अपने SBI का account statement पढ़ रहे हैं. It was a very different world, and now you guys are entering such a different experience where, and frankly, it's not a fault of yours. It's a very different association and transaction you have with the institution. We felt we were building this place, and in some way we were. Not to suggest that you aren't, you are also in a meaningful fashion building this place. But once you step in and you pay those shitloads of money, it tends to become transactional, where it's almost like give and take, where it's almost like, hey, I've come in and now you better do something about my career because I'm placing the onus of my career in your hands, and I want that PPO and I want that case competition and I want CAS to do whatever they have to, and so on and so forth. And it's lovely to see how the shift has happened. I see still sparks of our campus on Mohali because they're still young and they're still trying to find their feet. And of course, there's always this healthy, unhealthy competition with Hyderabad, where nobody from Hyderabad will ever say I'm from the Hyderabad. Yeah, they'll just say I'm from ISB. But everyone from Mohali will also try to do the same thing. And then Hyderabad is like, no, I'm from ISB Hyderabad. So it's quite funny when I have ISB alums speak to me as like, I'm from the Hyderabad campus. Which campus are you from? It's like, I am from ISB, like the true one, which did not have multiple campuses. But anyway, Soumya has given me the onus of talking about demystifying entrepreneurship. So first I want to do a rain check. How many of you even care a fuck about what I'm going to say about that? Demystifying entrepreneurship. Okay, about 60%. Like, ekdam grudgingly, thoda sa haath toot rahe hain, so on and so on. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I will talk a little bit about entrepreneurship because that's what I have been doing for the last 10 plus years. But I'll talk a lot more about my journey post ISB. Because for most people who are from ISB, I know what it is to be a student between term breaks, reflecting on your life, really questioning whether you should have been here, then looking at what has been happening in the last 2 years, questioning again, then looking at your grades, then questioning again, looking at your group, questioning again. Right? So things haven't changed on that front. And I would love to speak as a complete honest conversation about what it is to be an alum and how it is such a privilege to call yourself an ISB alum, but you will only recognize that at least 5 years out. Which starts with the best advice that I can give you. Do not listen to any alum who has graduated from ISB in the last 5 years. They are also the ones that you will hear the most. But they don't know shit. Not because they're not smart, but because they haven't yet experienced what is the intellectual and network compounding of ISB, which is the strongest part of ISB. It is not so much the job that you will get out of it or the recruiters that will come in or the education that you will have. All of that is frankly achievable now, even without a formal education as such. But you have no idea the kind of strength you will be a part of once you are out of this place, and how, if you were to continue being associated in a meaningful fashion with zero expectation, it will start yielding results 5+ years out, which you cannot predict for yourself today. I know that doesn't help when you're sitting in a placement process, looking at your loan outstanding, and then have to make that EMI work. So it's easy for me to say it. And I know that you will take your own time to figure that out. But if there's anything that you can take at all, it is that this decision of yours, as much as you may second guess it, question it, is perhaps one of the wisest decisions that you have made in life. Not because it's ISB, but because you can do something about it once you're out of it, and the work doesn't stop just at school. Okay, so let me first talk about my journey quickly, and then we'll go quickly into a bit of entrepreneurship as well, if people are still interested. I came to ISB with a very, very different mindset than most people. So my experience before ISB was I had a very clear plan in life, which was a 3-step plan. Step 1 was to go to the US to get a PhD, become a scientist. Step 2 was to join NASA as a space scientist, because that's what I wanted to do. And step 3 was, as a space scientist at NASA, eventually find my way on Mars, hopefully become the first man on Mars. This was before Elon Musk has come into the picture. This is before Shah Rukh Khan has come back from Swadesh. So no Bollywood pop culture exploitation. This is like true middle class Indian ambition to go to the US for a fine education and then become a scientist, join NASA. ISRO was nearly not as cool as it is today back then. So NASA was the place to work. And if you are a space scientist at NASA, then Mars, growing up in 1980s, 1990s, is the place that you want to be. So I was working towards that plan. That was my goal, my ambition. I took up sciences in 11th and 12th. I was really good at them. And then took up Bachelor's of Physics program in Delhi University, Hindu College. How many from DU? Anybody from DU? So you will all know nothing happens at DU. So nothing happened at DU. I did not get anything academically from that college. The only thing that I got out of college was my wife. So I'm glad I went to that. It wasn't by design. I just completely lucked out. Like, for a Hindu guy to marry a Mirandian is like, I should be on the Mirandian best alumni list. Story for some other day. Goal was very clear. Start applying to the US universities to get the PhD program. Started applying, and I got through Michigan State University for its PhD program in astrophysics, precisely what I wanted. And I also got it on 100% scholarship, which was the only way that I could have gone to the US. We come from a very humble background, hand-to-mouth existence, frankly, almost in perpetual financial debt. So for us to even have the audacity to have someone go out of the country for a US education, so the only way was to get a scholarship, and I'm glad that I got that. And the next thing I know, I'm a student in the US, but trained in the Indian education system. And what it wonderfully does is it tells us when to study, when not to study, what not to study, how much to study, to know precisely what to say in that 2-hour exam, to know exactly how many marks you'll score, to know exactly what will be your rank in the class. And most of my students were not trained in that system. So I was deploying 18 years of my education in school and college to the kid. I was acing the class. The professors loved, the students hated me. I was killing it on that fast track program to complete my PhD the way that I wanted to, and I thought I would. But there was something that was missing. And we always know when something is missing, we just may not want to admit it. But if I stood in front of the mirror and asked myself, hey, Ankur, this is what you wanted to do. You're doing it the way you thought you would be doing. Are you truly happy? And the answer was no, I wasn't. And I had a series of very difficult conversations with myself. What is wrong? This is what you wanted to do. This is where you wanted to be. And I realized after a series of these conversations that physics was something that I was really good at, but it didn't make me happy. I was doing something that I was really good at, but it didn't make me happy. And for the first time in my life, it struck me that what you're good at and what makes you happy could be two entirely different things. And that was a shocking revelation for me because all my life I'd been told कि अगर तुम किसी चीज में अच्छे हो तो automatically उस चीज में करने में खुश हो जाते हो. But that clearly wasn't the case for me. And I now had to make a very active choice in my life. Choice one was continue doing whatever I'm doing. And because I'm good at it, I will actually get all the socially desirable outcomes. Everything that society calls a success, like bangla, gadi, shan, chaukat, wo sab milega because I'm good at this shit. Or go and pursue whatever the hell happiness is. And I didn't know what that was, but I certainly knew that what I was doing in life did not necessarily make me one. So I took the very hard decision to quit my PhD and come back to India at the age of 24. Today, when I stand in front of young minds and I tell them that I dropped out of PhD, they're like, awesome! Every successful person we know has dropped out of something. So you must be really cool too. But back in 2004, dropping out of your education, if you had 100% scholarship or top of your class, just meant that you are either crazy or that you actually flunked in your examinations. And nobody got it. My parents were devastated. They're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, 8 saal se tumne hamara dimag kharab kar diya. NASA, space, astronomy, US, and so on. And now you're giving us this bullshit theory. Oh, I'm good with this, but I'm not happy. Whatever that means. So they didn't get it. And I can understand why they didn't get it as a parent today. And after a series of these nice, happy, not so comfortable conversations with your parents, they're like, okay, we don't understand what you're going through. But here's a great idea. We know that you don't want to do this and you want to come back to India. But why do you have to drop out? Why don't you finish your PhD and then come back? And when I heard that, I was like, where have I heard this before? And then it struck me that in class 10th, my parents told me, why don't you study for this 1 year and your entire life will be sorted after that? And then in class 12th, they told me, why don't you get through a very good college and your entire life will be sorted after that? And they're giving me the same shit again. They're like, why don't you finish this year PhD? Something miraculous will happen in your life and your life will be sorted after that. And I didn't frankly want to make hope my strategy. That was a bad move in my opinion. So something gave me the moral courage to not listen to my parents. And I came back to India, completely lost, confused, no idea what to do, no plan, no direction, no money, nothing was waiting for me here. And my friends were like, why? You are confused, my friend. So why don't you do what most confused people do? Go get an MBA. And I had a bunch of my friends who had gone to the 2-year program, IIMs and all of those. And I saw them devote their 2 years, time, money, energy, and so on. And I wasn't sure whether that was the right thing for me or not. And as luck would have it, I have to give it to luck. I come across this rather young school, 5 years old, insanely expensive program, but 1 year, which is brilliant. So I wouldn't have to spend 2 years figuring shit out. And the best thing was I would be amongst a bunch of people who had real work experience in life, which was the fascinating thing for me because I had zero perspective in life. I knew nothing about the real world, nothing about finance, sales, marketing, HR, supply chain, and blah, blah. So for me to spend time with people who had actually done real shit in life would be the best way to learn. So I applied to ISB. I till date have no explanation of how I got through, but I did. God bless whosoever was going through my application. And that 1 year just fundamentally changed forever. It fundamentally altered the way that I thought about life. And I think the big reason was while I saw a lot of my colleagues, including myself, by the way, come to ISB looking for a job, career, money, brand, position, company, blah, blah, blah. I genuinely came to ISB looking for myself. Like, who the fuck am I? I have no idea. What am I good at? What am I not good at? What are the things that I should or should not be doing in life? And I needed the answers to those questions. And I think I found the answers to those questions, which I will share with you. I also found that there is this really cool thing called consulting. And I was like, that is a great way to learn because I had zero perspective in life, remember? So I felt that if you join consulting, you work in multiple projects, very smart people, you get to learn so much in a short period of time. It's the best way to sprint my career. And I started applying for the consulting jobs. And I got through Carney. I'm not a Dean's Lister. And I made it so anybody who is not a Dean's Lister and still aspires to get into consulting, you can, because I made it, and frankly, if I can, anybody can. And the next thing I know, as a 26-year-old, I'm sitting in the boardrooms of really large companies in front of people I have seen on the covers of newspapers and magazines, telling them how they should be running their business. This is the Excel sheet that I have. This is my understanding of their business, of which I had no idea until 2 weeks now. And like, how the hell does this make sense? I am 26 years of age. Like, you've worked in this company for longer than I've lived on this planet. This relationship is not equal. I'm not sure of why you can't see it. Why aren't you throwing me out of this room? But they weren't. And if they weren't, then I was getting to learn so much that I wasn't complaining one bit. And for all the difficult way of getting into consulting is, and I know that, how many of you aspire here for consulting? Show of hands. Entrepreneur crowd है जो क्या उसको मिडिल फिंगर दिखा के प्लेसमेंट में नहीं बैठेगा, ऐसे बोलेगा बैठ ही जाते हैं. It's a terrific profession. It is such a great career option for somebody who does not know what they want to do in life. It's hard to get into, admittedly, but there's a reason for that, because it is genuinely one of the best ways to kickstart your career. Get to work with super smart people. I was frankly nobody. There were 2 people from ISB who made it to Carney. My counterpart was an IIT Delhi gold medalist. I just found my wife in my undergrad. That was the difference. Everybody who joined in our batch at Carney was like, IIT ye, IIT wo, gold medal ye, silver medal mo. And मैंने 5वीं कक्षा के बाद कोई elocution contest के बाद कुछ नहीं जीता था. Like, so zero. And it was just so intimidating, as I'm sure you would have felt when you came to ISB. Like, my first week of ISB was like, oh. I am not smart. I thought I was, but I'm really not. Anyway, consulting is a great place to be, and we can talk about that as well. A year and a half goes by. I'm loving consulting. Then I'm meeting a batchmate of mine from ISB. We were coordinates. And he's like, hey, I've started this new website. I wanted to talk to you about it. I said, sure. What's it called? He said, it's called secondshadi.com. I think it is. Is it what I think it is? There's so many people who get married in India, so they're bound to be people who get divorced and widowed. This is a platform for them to get married again. I'm like, that is such an incredible idea. How did you think about this, dude? And I know my dad thought about this. So my first reaction was, I hope I'm having a happy marriage, but more importantly, is there a way that I can help? I would love to. It seems like a great idea. Like, I'm a coder, I'm an engineer, I build this thing out, but I think you and I can make a great team. Do you want to do this together? I say, yeah. I am having such a ball of a time in consulting. I'm getting to learn so much. I'm making money for the first time in my life. I'm getting to sit with such bright people, question my own self, grow. So I think it wouldn't be the wisest decision for me to quit as yet. But if you're okay, and I really hope you're okay, is it fine that I can just help you with whatever time I can make from consulting, which by the way is a few minutes in a day, but whatever time I can make out from consulting, can I just help you and just see where it goes? And he's like, very gracious. Yeah, let's do this. Let's just see where it goes. So for the next 1.5 years, I had a day job as a consultant. During nighttime, I was Batman trying to get people married again. It's wonderful. And it got to a certain size and scale where it now warranted my full time. So I decided then to quit consulting, take a 80% pay cut, down to the bare minimum financial amount I needed to survive, and joined secondshadi.com as a founder. You can imagine how my parents were like, what the fuck is seriously wrong with you? Like, why 4-5 saal mein, why do you keep inflicting this pain? Forget on yourself. Why do you keep inflicting on us? तुम्हारी पहली शादी भी नहीं हुई है, कोई ऐसा नहीं है कि शादी क्या होती है, तुम दूसरे लोगों की दूसरी शादी करवाओगे. Giving all of this repute, this money, this respect, how does this make sense? And I was like, it makes sense to me because I think I can always go back to consulting if shit were to happen. But I don't know if this opportunity that lies in front of me is going to ever come back again. And I don't want to be regretting that. So I'm so glad I didn't listen to my pen. I'm almost making a sound that they're the worst people on earth, but they got me thus far. So they're really, really good people. And I joined Tech in Shadi. And we had a ball of a time. We came up with several other websites. There were 4 ISBNs together. We thoroughly enjoyed ourselves. The big website that we were able to make was Gadi.com. It very quickly became one of India's largest car classifieds websites. Went on to become a good success. We were able to sell that to a large company, make a little bit of money for ourselves. And there were 3 of us who were left at that point of time, and we went our 3 ways. And at that point of time, I was looking for what next to do, and I came across this rather young company called Groupon. By the way, from the ISB Alumni Network. And there is a fascinating story about this, which I will tell you. And Groupon was this young company that just started in 2008 in Chicago, was growing like rapid fire all across the world. They were looking for people to start multiple businesses across multiple countries, and India being one of them. So I got in touch with them. They liked me, I liked them. And the next thing I know, I started the Groupon India business in 2011. And when I joined that, I remember meeting this guy called Oliver Samwer, who was running Rocket Internet, which was the company that brought Groupon to India. And I was like, hey, Ollie, what made you select me? It's like, I have a question for you, Ankur. Why did you reply to that email? And like, what email? The email that we sent looking for people for starting this Groupon India business. Like, because you send that email and that's what you do to emails, you reply. It's like, no, but we send that email to the alum group of IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, and ISB. And you were the only one who replied. So I was like, Oli, did I come first in a race where I was no, that's not the point. I was like, why did anyone else reply? And he's a very passionate German. So it's like, why did everyone else reply? And I don't know. And then I figured I know. I don't know how many of you have heard of Rocket Internet. It has a reputation that precedes itself. Yeah. It's considered to be this really brutal work environment where people are hired and fired literally in hours. It's this cutthroat competition. So there is a reputation that precedes. And of course, as ISB, what do? You research, you create decks, you go into this analysis paralysis, because Bhagwan case study prepare to karna hi hai na, matlab kuch bhi pooch sakte hain. So you go into this real depth. And because of that, you're like, nahi karna hai, kyunki isme to bahut jokhim hai. And that's why most people, I'm assuming, were just paralyzed by what they read instead of what they could have experienced had they gone through that. I thankfully did not do any of my research. And I was like, hey, Rocket Internet, I'm looking for a job. Let's just apply. And I replied, and it worked out for me. And I'm so glad that I did, because that experience has shaped me up meaningfully as a leader. 4 years into Groupon, and I realized very quickly, Groupon had its own problems to take care of in US and Europe, meaningfully large problems. It became a publicly listed company, did not have a very good stint at the public market. So it was a very challenging ride. So the attention that they could devote towards India was limited, and rightfully so. I wouldn't blame them at all. But I was living the India opportunity day in and day out, and I felt that we were literally sitting on the biggest opportunity of our lives, and I wanted to do something about it. So in an audacious move, I went to Groupon's headquarters and I said, I want to buy the Groupon India business from you, and I want to make it independent. And they're like, Kal ke lorne hame batayenge hame kya karna chahiye. What are you talking about? You're 100% subsidiary of a publicly listed company listed in the US. Like, this shit doesn't happen. It hasn't never happened before. I was like, well, it hasn't happened. That doesn't mean it can't happen. It's the reason why it should happen. And it took about 9 months of convincing, but we were able to pull that off. We pulled off what you will read in one of the finance electives, a concept called management buyout. And we pulled off a management buyout. We partnered with Sequoia Capital and we bought out the majority shareholding of Groupon and Groupon's India business and made that into an independent entity that still continues to run, which is nearby.com. And Soumya was one of the first people that we hired from ISB for nearby.com. Had a wonderful ride, had a very difficult ride, had an immensely learning ride. 2017, Paytm came along, they invested in us, we became a Paytm company. And in 2019, after 4 years of intense struggle, we finally were profitable. And that felt like a massive moment for me. It also felt like a lot that we had to give to get to that point. Thankfully, by that time, we had a wonderful team, we had a great process, we had a brilliant culture within the company, we had a strong brand outside. So it just felt like the right time for me to hang my boots and just go on to seek what else could there be. And I, at the end of 2019, decided to take a 3-month break, figuring out what I wanted to do. I am on the 21st month of that 3-month break. Still trying to figure out what I want to do. And I think I have some semblance of where I would want to be. It is not funny how many of these twists and turns that I have taken have happened because of the ISB network. It is not funny how much of courage I have drawn from my ISB experience, because I was like, if I could go through that, then I fundamentally can go through anything. And there were 3 things that ISB taught me, which I want to leave you all with. Go back to the first day that you joined ISB. And you were amongst 600 odd people, I'm told, on this campus, very different from all walks of life, different backgrounds, different experiences, different worldviews. And the first thing that you did, I don't even know any one of you personally as such, but I can guarantee that's what you did. It was look for people who are like you. Because that's what we want to do. We always want to hang around with people who are like us. And I saw that at ISB within the first week. Delhi with Delhi, Bombay with Bombay, South Bombay with South Bombay, music with music, engineers with engineers, mechanical with mechanical, chemical with chemical, IT Delhi with IT Delhi. And then these groups. And back then there was no WhatsApp. Facebook had just entered the world. So it was like physical meetups. So all people interested in music and just get together with people jamming. Oh, music, music, music. Oh, Guns N' Roses, like Jagdeep Singh, fuck off. These tribes, these communities that were built where people just wanted to hang out with each other because they were like-minded. And I saw that and I'm like, isn't that the exact opposite of what one should be doing? Like ISV has gone through all this pain to gather 600 such eclectic, different, super driven, smart individuals across the country and world, and you would still want to hang out with your thought process? That's fucking a tragedy. Why would you pay for that shit? And that is when I realized that I will never learn anything new from people who are like me. I may like them, but they are only going to parrot what I already know. It's like being on social media. You open up Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever the fuck it is. You don't see shit that challenges your point of view. You only see things that endorses your point of view. It just tells you, hey, is this what you believe in? You are right, because this is what's happening. And you're like, of course I knew I was right, but thank you. See, you were wrong. I was right. It's this massive validation that we crave for, we are given, and that just makes us a bigger version of who we are. That's not the purpose of where you would want to be. You want to become a better version of who you are. And that means it starts from spending time with people who are nothing like you and in a disciplined fashion. Look around this room. You don't have to right now. And when you look around this room, there will be those 2-3 odd people you will look at and you're like, nah. In case of me, I don't know. Matching. And those are the individuals that you need to spend time with, because they know something about the world. See? You know. They see the world differently from you. It's like engineers were trained in bits and bytes, 0 and 1. Ye machine chalti hai ya nahi chalti hai. Isme koi 2 ways nahi hoga. But then the humanities is a continuum. Nothing is 0 and 1. Everything is a shade of gray. Can you imagine how these two worlds are so dissimilar, and it will be such a tragedy that you would never get to see how the other world even sees itself, and thus you in the way you see the world. So I consciously spent time with people who were nothing like me. I made a group, a circle, who were so different from who I would have hung out with if I was just living my normal life. And I cannot thank myself more for making that decision, because it just fundamentally broadened my horizon of what really happens in the world. And go back, I was with zero perspective how the world functions. So spend time with people who are nothing like you. This is also how founders think. The true founders are not the ones who are starting companies, who are raising money. The true founders are the ones who are constantly saying, I don't know shit, and I need to spend time with people who are nothing like me. I am not the customer. How many of you here are middle class? Fuck you. Seriously. What is the definition of middle class? Because, of course, Bhagwan Chaudhary knows that, but anybody else? What's the definition of middle class in India? Give me a quantifiable, measurable definition of middle class in India. Not values and हम वो चीजें नहीं खरीद सकते थे जो हम खरीदना चाहते थे. Give me a quantifiable definition of middle class in India.
Top 20% annual income less than
Okay, let's say income.
annual income less than 5 lakhs per annum.
5 lakhs per annum. Okay. Anybody else?
Hand to mouth.
Very quantifiable. क्या आप hand to mouth हैं? क्या आपको तुम्हारे इसमें नाम है? Okay. Anybody else?
Loans?
Sorry?
Living on loans?
Okay, let me ask a very simple direct question. What is the monthly income of somebody who is middle class in India?
In a city like that.
40,000, 50 to 60,000, 50,000. I love this. 50,000. Okay, anybody else? It's 8 to 10,000 per month. It's 8 to 10,000 per month. So when you call yourself middle class, again, fuck you. You are just comparing yourself with Mukesh Ambani and feeling poor. But the truth is, the Uber driver outside, the rickshaw puller outside, the bus driver outside, that person is middle class. You are all fucking rich, sitting in this cocoon, calling yourself middle class. The audacity, oh my God. So if you as a founder were like, and I came up to you as an investor, like, hey, we need to build a product for middle class India. Who would you build a product for? Yourself, your surroundings. You would never even think that you have to build a product for that rickshaw guy, that cab driver. Because for you, your world is completely in a different tangent. And that is the founder mindset. They don't ever start with the assumption that they are the customer. They don't ever believe that they know everything. They are never hanging out with people who are like them. They're constantly staying with people who are like them. Anybody here who's heard of this startup called Josh Talks? Yeah. So I know the founders really well. Supriya and Shobhit, terrific people. Josh Talks is basically a TED Talks for Bharat. So inspirational stories coming in from tier 2, tier 3 India. Now, because they are not tier 2, tier 3 India, here is the extent to where they went. Shobhit, when he was designing a product which was for English speaking for Bharat, went to the colony of where his driver stays and stayed there for 6 months. He stayed there for 6 months with his tech team. And they used to have a product sprint, literally walk out of their place and show it to the guys they were staying with. Boss, ये देखो ये हमने product बनाया है, इसके बारे में कुछ feedback दोगे? It's not like oh चलो LinkedIn पे जाते हैं देखते हैं वो क्या बोल रहे हैं इसके बारे में, Twitter की जनता क्या बोल रही है, Sequoia क्या बोल रहा है इसके बारे में, and let's bootstrap because it's very cool today. Like they genuinely just went there because they were like, we have no idea what tier 2, tier 3 India is. I love that way of thinking. It takes a lot of courage to think that way. So irrespective of whether you want to become a founder or not, and I realize I'm now mixing entrepreneurship with the story, but I love that. Please spend time with people who are nothing like you. You're only in term 2. Term 3 is about to start. I know placements are hard, but trust me, nothing will train you more than this. Number 2, ISB is a trap. It's a beautifully laid out trap. The entire corporate world is a trap. Here's how the trap was. How many of you, anybody here from Google? Anybody here from Google? Anybody here who's been to the Google offices? Ever? Okay, one or two. So one of the fanciest things about Google offices is the free lunch. Free lunch. So let me describe it for people who haven't been there. This is the Gurgaon Google office. Imagine a stadium, and then imagine on the circumference of the stadium stalls. So North Indian food counter, South Indian food counter, Italian food counter, Mediterranean food counter, continental, sweet, healthy. Like it's a politician's wedding into three. So. And it's free, just free. So one day I'm meeting a friend of mine who works at Google, and I'm having lunch with him, and I'm standing in line of the North Indian food counter. In front of me is a Googler, because I can see it from the patta that he has. And he steps outside of the line to check what the menu of the day was. He reads the menu of the day, and he goes, "Fuck, man, aaj fir se dal makhani hai." And I stood there, stunned, thinking, what has this guy done in life to be complaining about the fact that he has had to have dal makhani for 2 consecutive days of his life? Like, how the fuck did it go so bad? What happened? It was something fundamentally broke. This guy is complaining about the fact that he's getting to have butter-laden, richly cooked lentil, which we call dal makhani, for 2 consecutive days of his life. Like that is his distress point for him to shout in public. So I came up with this bullshit theory, which I think is true. When Larry Page and Sergey Brin, the 2 founders of Google, started Google, they said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to create what is the biggest mindfuck experiment that the world has ever seen. Here's how it will work. We will get the smartest people that we know of into a room. We'll call it a company at some point in time. And we will give them the most complex problems to work on. Super challenging problems. But we will also give them shit they didn't expect. We'll give them free food. We'll tell them you can come whenever you want to come, leave whenever you want to leave. You can wear whatever you want to wear. You want to get your pet along, bring that. You want to cycle at work, sure. You want to sleep at work? You want to work 20% on something else? You want shitloads of money? Of course. And over time, all of these people will get addicted to the extent that they will begin to believe they deserve that. And all of you here are in that same zone. You stand in front of the mirror, pat yourself on the back, and we're like, I deserve this. I've worked so fucking hard in my life, I deserve to be where I am. I deserve this job, I deserve ISB, I deserve good grades, I deserve good company, I deserve this, I deserve that. The truth is, none of us deserve to be where we are. It's a beautifully laid out trap, and the trap is the following. The trap is, when Larry Page and Sergey Brin created this wonderful experiment, they asked themselves, how many people are going to fall for this trap? How many people are going to believe that they deserve to be where they are? It will be a horribly high number. Let's say 99%. But that 1% who doesn't wake up every morning feeling entitled, they don't wake up every morning saying, ISB ka food, itna bekar ho chuka hai na. It is unbelievable कि मैं इसके लिए इतने पैसे दे रही हूँ. Like ISB के professors इतने boring हो चुके हैं कि मुझे यकीन नहीं हो रहा हम इतने पैसे दे रहे हैं. ISB की air conditioning इतनी ठंडी है कि मुझे यकीन नहीं हो रहा है. Swimming pool इतना छोटा है, gym इतना छोटा है, बैठने के लिए कुर्सियां नहीं है, बोलने के लिए माइक नहीं है, Uber नहीं आती है, ये नहीं है, internet नहीं. It's like you're complaining about random shit in life. And I don't think any one of you realizes that, because you're habituated to it now. That's the trap. Because that 1% gets up every morning and is like, fuck, I'm at ISB. Like I'm literally at ISB because 4 months back, I wanted to be in this place and I didn't feel I could make it. But here I am now. Are these the people that I'm hanging out with? From the time that I came from, that company, that perk, that privilege, I'm literally hanging out with the best that this country and perhaps the world has to offer. Pinch me. And they will then work like nobody's business. They will not treat this as some entitlement, some deservation. Is that even a word? They will be like, this is an opportunity. This has to be something that I feel blessed, and I just have to work towards every single day. I have seen the best founders do that. I have worked with billionaires, and it is incredible how many of that do not take themselves seriously. They're like, boss, पता नहीं कैसे हो गया, कोई idea नहीं है. और मैं CEO हूँ, मैं founder हूँ, but I can't believe that. And I show up every single day hoping that I feel I can earn this position. And it is such a massive battle. And I've seen the lousiest of founders. जानता है मैं कौन हूँ, जानता है मेरा बाप कौन है, जानता है मेरे पास कितनी फंडिंग है, जानता है मैंने कितनी कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट किया है, जानता है मैं खुदा हूँ. And they may succeed, and that's perfectly fine. But they are not going to move the world forward. They're just building a company. They're not building an institution. You have a choice to make. You can very well be in that 99%, and there's nothing wrong with that, because that's a wonderful path. It's a stable path, and give you money and give you success and give you happiness and make you whatever it is. But if you want to move the company forward, move the world forward, you need to be in that 1% that doesn't get entitled. So stop complaining. And that's it, period. Stop complaining. I'm not even saying start complaining about random shit. I'm saying stop complaining in life. Khata. Period. Which brings me to the last and final point. Everything in this world today, every product, every service is designed for one thing and one thing alone, our comfort. So it tricks us into believing that the purpose of life is to make life comfortable. It tricks us into believing that everything that we're doing in life is to make our lives comfortable. And it is crazy how many people in ISB that I see and meet every single year just want to make their life comfortable. And I don't mean discomfort in the way कि अरे सोने के लिए वक्त नहीं मिल रहा है. They are looking to optimize for their comfort. Why did you come here if you were looking for comfort? Why did you come here if you wanted the sanity and the comfort of something which is predictable? Why did you come here because you wanted what felt like a fixed deposit but gave you the return of a mutual fund? It's not going to happen. That's the law of physics or finance, whatever. You have to make yourself uncomfortable, because here's one thing that you already know of because you worked before. The minute you are outside of this fancy cocoon, this safety net that you are in right now, the world is not going to be forgiving. No one is like, "Arey, koi farak nahi padta, you fumbled," and so on. They're going to fuck your happiness. You can make mistakes this year, and none of those mistakes are going to fuck up your life. And yet you wouldn't have the courage to make them. You have always dreamt of being a great communicator, a confident one, stand in front of the crowd, be as free as it is, and yet you wouldn't do that. Why? Because you feel that your classmates would laugh at you. That is the reason you're not doing it? Is that the reason you're not doing it? That is crazy. Because who cares that people are laughing at you? Can you imagine who you would be if you went through that experience? You don't know how to reach out to alums, send them cold emails, connect with them, network with them, and you wouldn't do it because you feared that they will not reply? Are you crazy? Like, when else will you get an opportunity in life to actually challenge and not face the consequences of a potential failure? Because that's what you are living in right now. That's exactly what you're living in right now. You have technically, and this is as simple as it gets, you've technically paid ISB a shitload of money to make a shitload of mistakes and not bear the consequences of that, as long as they're not illegal. That's it. That's the interaction. It is not an education. It is not even a network, because frankly, you have to build that network yourself, not a shit. It's not going to happen just by itself. So the only thing that you signed up for is, here, take a lot of money, give me a place to live, and just allow me to make clusterfuck of mistakes and not have to bear the consequences of that. And yet you wouldn't make them. You would actually sit in a class, be diligent, take notes, give the exams, get the grade, sit for the placements, and get out of it, thinking that will change your life. It's not going to change your life. It's not going to change your life. You're exactly the same person that you were when you entered. Nothing has changed except for what you know about a few subjects here and there. So why wouldn't you do that? Don't get comfortable. And the best founders I know don't. They don't. I've always wondered, what is the motivation for Elon Musk, for Mukesh Ambani, for Bill Gates, for Mark Zuckerberg to show up every day? Like, why the fuck do they show up every day? What is it that's driving them? When they know that they are in the line of fire. In the line of fire. Like Facebook has its first ever revenue decline, and that guy is getting hate like he's killed 2 million people. It's just a business. Can you take yourself, for God's sake, a little lightly? But no, he's in the line of fire when he could have said, I've made enough money, whatever. I don't need to do any of this. And yet they would show up. What drives them? What is that DNA? Because that is something that you will truly learn from. And that DNA is the founder DNA. It is the entrepreneurial DNA. It's not the employee mindset. Because employees like, oh, Facebook's sinking, let's go to Tesla. Oh, Tesla's sinking, let's go to X. X sinking, let's go to Y. I make it sound easy, but frankly, it is. But why do entrepreneurs show up? And that's the question that if you ponder about, you actually get a lot of clarity about how that mind works. So these three things, God, I can speak so much. Spend time with people who are nothing like you in a disciplined fashion so that it broadens your perspective, tells you something about the world that you don't. Do it in a fashion that you never feel entitled, that you're never feeling, oh, mujhe sab kuch aata hai. You're not God's gift to mankind. You are simply learning, placed in this opportunity, make that so, and don't get comfortable. Don't get comfortable. If you bring these three things together, you have the founder mindset. I have demystified entrepreneurship, which was my guidance. And you have truly done justice to what you guys are sitting on. And I'm speaking to the ISB students right now, but even broadly to anybody who's listening, irrespective of where you are, college, job, life, doesn't matter. It served me well. It served me tremendously well. And here's the biggest thing that it helps me with, which is the last thing I'm going to state. It is crazy, and I don't want to make it sound like fashionable, but I cannot even begin to tell you what a drug it is to not have to live life with a goal or a plan or a target. Because I was the one who had a goal and target, as clear as a goal and target can get. I was the one who in grade 7 decided that I wanted to go to the US, go to NASA, become a space scientist, and I was delivering on that. I was clinically killing it. And yet, man, didn't work out. Didn't work out. So when I came back from the US after dropping out of my PhD, I was like, hey, plan A didn't work, plan B. Plan B didn't work, plan C. Plan C didn't work, plan D. Because that's what the world tells you. Gotta have a plan, gotta have a plan. And I was disillusioned because I was like, I have no basis to come up with another plan. I frankly had no idea what my plan should be. So I asked myself a rather crazy question. Is it possible to live life without a plan? Is it actually possible to live life without a goal or a target? And if so, how? And this, what I shared with you, is actually the process. Because it opens up doors that you cannot ever imagine. If somebody were to come up to me at the age of 24 and said, hey, Ankur, you've dropped out of your PhD. Very sorry for you, man. But here's what's going to happen. In about 16 years, you'll have about 7 million people follow you on something called social media, which is a really cool thing, by the way. You have no idea about it, but take my word for it. You will have a best-selling book that people will be pirating and loving and raving about. You will have people who would love you, respect you. You will visit the top institutions across the world. The top companies will invite you to speak to their employees and motivate them. I'll be like, boss, jo bhi phuk raha hai, band kar de. Here I am. There was no plan that could have got me here. There was no plan that anybody could have conceived to get me here. I'm here because I just married myself into habits, just a way of living life, not where I want to be, but how I want to look at the world. And that's frankly true for anybody who feels fulfilled in their life. They're not like, haha, bola na 35 Mercedes, bam. That's not fulfillment. It's fake. It goes away the minute you get it. But what stays with you is that I'm just constantly surprised where life has taken me. And I'm so excited by what it could be next. So I have no idea to the quintessential interview question, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Like, mujhe nahi pata. But I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with not knowing where I will be 5 years from now. Because I didn't know that I would be here 5 years ago. And that is the beauty of life. And I would love for you to experience it in some way. A lot of what I said may sound like gibberish and sound like, oh, survivorship bias, क्योंकि तुम्हारे लिए जिंदगी काम कर गई. हमें तो बहुत लोग पता है जो US से अपनी PhD drop out करके आए थे और अब भीख मांग रहे हैं. But it's not capability. I'm not the smartest person I know. I'm not the most hardworking person I know. I'm not even the most qualified person I know. All I know is what worked for me is just believing that if you were to live life the exact same way that the world does, you most likely will end up the exact same place with the world. So it's a choice you make. And that's always a choice. I would stop. Thank you. I've spoken on the spot for 53 minutes. I can go on for another 2 hours. Questions, please. And I want to be mindful of your time. We will close at 7:10. Is that okay, Soumya? Perfect. So 7:10, we have 16 minutes, please, sir.
She talked about being comfortable all the time. So after ISB, a lot of people look for jobs. And for someone who wanted to go into entrepreneurship the long term, so would you recommend starting directly after college or going to a job and then is it like, does it become even more difficult after that?
No, it doesn't. It never gets difficult because it is difficult. So it can't get harder. The truth is, entrepreneurship has frankly no timeline, and please don't put any pressure of a timeline on it. I know that we're living in an era where 30 under 30, 40 under 40, 13 under 13, ये सब बहुत amp हो जाता है. But the truth is, there is merit in experience, and it's been proven. This is not just my random thing. It's proven by research that the older or the actual median age of success, at least in the US where this research was done, is 36 years of age. That's the median age of a founder who, quote unquote, made a success by whatever metrics they had defined as success. So please, if you don't have an idea that consumes you by night and keeps you up, work and work as much as you want to, get an experience, make mistakes at the expense of someone else. Someone's paying you to actually learn the tricks of the trade. And at some point of time, you will have that conviction to start on your own. The only thing that I advise, and that's general advice as well, please do not follow the bullshit motivational advice of quit your job to follow your passion. बहुत बकवास है, yeah? Because it just removes yourself from the practicality of life. I am actually a believer, keep working on side gigs all your life. Don't have just one identity. Like, it'll be a tragedy if after 5 years I were to come to you and say, hey, what do you do in life? And you'll be like, I'm a product manager at Google. Because that's just one identity. That's just like you have consumed your entire life into just a designation at a company. That's really tragic. Because when people ask me, what do you do? I was like, how much time do you have? Because I can go on and on. I can literally go on and on. And then I've come up with something which is a mix of 3 things, but not 3 is like the minimum. I want to say at least 7. So please always have side gigs. And at some point in time, one side gig will just make more sense to you and will give you the conviction, perhaps even the financial confidence to take that leap. Jaldi ke. Oh, family business. 3 minutes से बोल रहा हूँ मैं. माँ बाप के प्रेशर के बारे में मतलब join after ISB. I don't know how family businesses work. I have no idea. And I hope my son can also not answer this question in the future. I don't know how it works. I really don't know. I know a guy who can tell you on that from our batch. Akash Shah. Akash Shah knows everything in the world, and he knows everybody in the world as well. I was joking, अगर Pope और Akash Shah साथ में खड़े होंगे, तो लोग बोलेंगे, आकाश के साथ कौन खड़ा है? So, and he runs a very he belongs to a very successful Kolkata Marwari business family, and वो 22 साल पे ISB आया था. उसको कोई idea नहीं था कि जिंदगी में क्या होता है. And when he went out, he was like a completely different person. And today he's doing even more things. So please look him up. Even if you randomly ping him at 3 a.m. saying I'm from ISB, तो एकदम खड़े होके वो घर आ जाएगा फिर. Please, Akash Shah, 2006 batch. Yes, please.
Yeah, hi. Myself Piyush. So one of the things that I read today morning, apart from your Friday newsletter, of course, that Bold, this crypto company is not doing that good, and I checked Twitter and some other influencer has pulled out your YouTube wala video and you were doing that thing. So how do you deal with that sort of thing where some other influencer is calling your video or your content as basically not that genuine because some other company which you promoted fell off, right?
Yeah, being an entrepreneur for 10 years teaches you a lot, because frankly, this is like the least of a big problem. Somebody is coming and telling you something which may not be in the right spirit. So let's call it mean-spirited for a second. And you have two choices. Either you feel hurt or there's no rollback and so on. Or two, at least that's my way, and I'm very zen in that sense. I'll be like, बोलना क्या चाहता है? क्योंकि मेरा यकीन ये है कि कोई भी अपनी जिंदगी में रोज सुबह उठ के ये नहीं बोलता कि आज मैं अंकुर वारिकू की जिंदगी में बर्बादी ला दूं. Nobody does that, like, because I'm a nobody. Like, so zero attention should be given to my life. So if somebody actually went through the pain of doing something to tell me about something, I'll be like, बोलना क्या चाहता है? क्योंकि कुछ तो है उसमें merit होगा. I will distill or try to distill the message from the messenger, take the message, thank them for the message, do something about it, and then move on. And I have enough and more evidence in the last 10 years to say that the best way to counter hatred is empathy. Hands down. If you start with a thanks and call their name out, like if you are like, Ankur Warikoo, Maro, Pito, Ghar Jala do, ye kar do, Piyush, right? Yeah. And I'll be like, thanks, Piyush, for your feedback. What is the likelihood you will still be like, Maro, Pito? You'll be like, एक इंसान ने मुझे थैंक्स बोला, मेरा नाम पुकारा है. पिछले 2 हफ्ते में किसी ने मेरा नाम भी नहीं पुकारा. So these are people who are broken. You have to understand, you will always reflect what is going inside your. Nobody who's happy in their life will ever shit on somebody else. Period. Nobody who's happy in their life will ever shit on somebody else. They're only shitting on somebody else because they are going through shit in their life. So then you take the message, do something about it, fix it, and come back. I was hanging out with 2 entrepreneur friends of mine who are my entrepreneurial buddies. We grew up together as entrepreneurs. And exactly the same question. We meet once every 2 weeks and you're like, bhai, bold ho gaya? Sikha gaya. Sikha gaya. And I love that. Right? I love that mindset. He didn't ask me, bhai, theek hai na, itni gaaliyan padi, roya hua to nahi, ghar mein theek hai sab, bacche abhi bhi pyar karte hain. Like nothing, none of that. He's like, sikha kya? Ho gaya, khatam. Sikha kya isse? Because if you haven't learned anything, then you're just living with hatred. You know, मैं तो सिर्फ पढ़ाई करने के लिए Excel sheet बना रहा था. मैंने क्या किया? मैं एक content creator. But the idea is you have to learn something from it, and that's just my way of doing it. And it works like magic. Always does. It takes time to get to that point, though. Yes.
So how to believe in ourselves?
Certainly, Ankur.
How to believe in ourselves? So every time when I look at the other guy, I look at their potential and I believe, okay, they will do something good in life. But at the same situation, when I look at myself, I doubt something.
Why don't, what is stopping you from working on your doubt? Like, do you leave itself at the doubt, or you actually have a way out of that doubt?
I try to come out of that doubt, but still many times I fail.
Okay, I don't know you, but your name?
Vivek.
Vivek. So here's my likely guess, and I'm sorry if I'm making an assumption on your part, which could be false. Sit with yourself, Vivek, and I'm not talking to just Vivek, but everybody. Sit with yourself and meditate on the problem that you are trying to solve for. Sit with it with no phone, no music, no person, and just meditate on the problem that you are trying to solve for. And I guarantee you, Vivek, and all other Viveks that I'm speaking to, you will find the answer. But most likely, the answer will be not that you want to hear. Because it'll be a fucking hard answer. But it is the answer you need to hear. मेरी जिंदगी में तो कम से कम हमेशा यही है. Like such सबसे मुश्किल. And when you're like, मैं ये क्यों कर रहा हूँ? मैंने ये डिसीजन क्यों लिया? मैंने इसमें पैसा क्यों डाला? मैंने ये इंसान को क्यों हायर किया? मैंने इसको क्यों फायर किया? Blah blah blah. Anything that didn't work out, and I said, I always know the answer. It's just intensely hard to accept that answer. But then the choice is very clear. It is absolutely clear. And one life philosophy, life is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Fit होना है, अच्छा खाओ, जिम जाओ. Simple है. इसमें और कोई मतलब कुछ और नहीं करना, कोई प्रोटीन शेक नहीं खरीदना है, कुछ बड़ी सी डाइट नहीं करनी है, कोई महंगी किताब नहीं खरीदनी. जिम जाओ, अच्छा. But is it easy? No, it is not. It is not. कंसल्टिंग की नौकरी चाहिए, सिंपल. घुसो डील्स लिस्ट में, नंबर 1 आओ. क्या वो आसान है? नहीं. And that is the irony of life. It is simple. The answers are almost always very, very clear, but they're hard to consume. So again, sorry for making a judgment on your part, but that could be there. Okay. I'm not selecting people. I'm just ensuring that I cover everyone. Yes, sir. Left and then right. Left and then right. So,
Okay.
left, my left.
Hi, Ankur, this is Shorter.
Shaurya?
Shorter.
Sure.
Ankur, how did you go about building a personal brand? Is that something you saw merited, and so it was a conscious choice, or is it something just happened?
As with most things in life, it just happened. But I'll tell you the journey because it's a good one to learn from. So 2013, 2014, we're running Groupon. We're not the biggest brand in the tech space, but we have to hire the best talent because that's how shit happens. And we can't pay the top dollars as well. So there is clearly a employer brand that you have to build, and it usually happens through recruitment agencies, hiring agencies, media, PR, blah, blah, blah. And what I felt was that we never had control over the story. किसी दिन अगर अच्छी story हो गई, किसी का दिन अच्छा था तो अच्छा लिख देंगे, नहीं होगी तो फिर गाली गलौज. And it was almost like going on this random up and down that we didn't think we deserved. So the marketing team, to their credit, was like, hey, why don't we start speaking to people directly? And आप ठीक ठाक दिखते हैं, ठीक ठाक बोल लेते हैं, तो आप ही actor model बन जाइए, and let's just start. And we started, this is complete luck. We started, I don't know how many of you even know of this platform. We started on this platform called Quora. How many of you have heard of Quora? It was a rage back then. And I started answering questions on Quora about anything. Right? So people would be like, what's the nearby business model? Answer. How much money does nearby make? Answer. How much money does nearby lose? Answer. How much money does Ankur Warikoo make? Answer. What car does he drive? Answer. So I was absolutely honest, transparent, which is how I am. And very quickly, I became top 100 followed people in the world on Quora. And suddenly people started getting attention and so on. And then I had been blogging since 2005. So I've been blogging since I joined ISB as a student. The blog still runs. I write every single day, and I've been so for the last 17 years. And I just picked up that blog and started pasting it on LinkedIn. So that also worked. And then LinkedIn 2016 launched its video feature. And I kept waiting and waiting patiently. Kabhi aayega, kabhi aayega, kabhi aayega. But product manager Firang hoga to Hindustan mein kabhi release nahi kiya. And frustrated after 3 months, I wrote a post saying, hey, Jeff Wiener was the CEO of LinkedIn back then. What does one have to do to get the video feature enabled on their profile? Within half an hour, I have a comment from a product manager of LinkedIn saying, we've enabled it for you. And like, bas itna hi karna tha. So it happened to be a Wednesday. It reminded me again of one of the most powerful life lessons I have. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. And I recorded that. I called it a Warikoo Wednesday. But true to how I think of things, I said episode 1. कोई reason नहीं था. but I like getting into processes because I feel that if you do something consistently, you just automatically get better at that. So for me, saying Warikoo Wednesdays episode 1 meant कि कभी episode 2 भी आएगा और वो फिर हर Wednesday आता था. And that was it. So when 2019, I stepped down as the CEO of Nearby. I had a fairly decent following on LinkedIn. Nowhere close to YouTube, Instagram, any place else, but I felt that I should build a team around that, and that's what I did. Aditya is, by the way, part of my team right there. He's the one who makes all the videos. So if you like them, he's the one to be thanked. If you don't like him, no, he's good. So that's it. I just doubled down and things happened. So again, it was not that bad. Sir.
Ankur, I'm Rohit. I just wanted to understand that how do you leverage your network and how it has transformed you as a person, and what advice do you have for us to, in next 5 years, how can we basically get maximum, benefit out of it from that network that we have, or how can we increase it? Maybe I just wanted to understand your perspective.
That's a very valid question, a very practical one. Here's my answer. The best way to draw the most from a network is to stop networking. Don't ever try to reach out to someone with a ulterior motive because they will always see through it. हम बहुत देख चुके हैं दुनिया to know. जब लिखते हैं लोग I-Speak alum, love the work that you're doing, love the videos that you put in, thoroughly enjoyed the video that you put out last night. मैं अगर उनसे पूछूं ना कौन सा वीडियो था उनको पता भी नहीं होगा. I was hoping that I can get some mentoring time from you or whatever. I don't blame that approach, but the frank thing is, if you have to ask, then ask. Don't sugarcoat that you have been in love with me for the last 3 years and it was a one-sided relationship and now I got to know you and I have to fall in love. Doesn't happen. So please, for the first 5 years, genuinely get to know people. Genuinely get to know people. Funny story. I am meeting another ISB alum from 2011 or so, and that's the big difference of how ISB has transformed. And that guy is like, oh, you're from 2006 batch? Like, huh. Like, oh, I know Rohit Kapoor from your batch. Like, yeah, I know him as well. He's like, how do you know him? I was like, because he was from my batch. Oh, you knew everyone in your batch? And like, why wouldn't you know everyone in your batch? Like, why wouldn't you know everyone in your batch? मतलब एक साल के अंदर तुम 600 लोगों को नहीं जान सकते. मतलब जिंदगी नहीं जाननी है. But can you not even know 600 people if they wish to be known? But people don't. Oh, section, group, electives, thoda bahut. So, पूरी दुनिया बहुत अच्छे hang out कर रहे हैं. That's not how you can leverage the network. And the other way is, please help as much as you can. So the theory holds, if you spend time in reaping the benefits of, if you wish to reap the benefits of a network, you have to spend time in just plowing and seeding it right. Help people, genuinely get to interact with them, get interested in them, see how you can help them as much as you can. And जिस दिन तुम्हें जिंदगी में मदद चाहिए होगी, you'll be surprised at how many people will raise their hand and say, पर अगर तुमने कुछ किया ही नहीं है तो तुम्हारी घंटा कोई मदद. That's just the way life is. And I know you know the answer already, but it's cute you answer the question. Thank you, man. Sir. Yes, you.
Right.
Yeah. I love how you surprised.
So I'm Satvik.
Satvik.
Yeah, I'm an 18-year-old BTech guy.
Awesome. I love it.
Thanks to YouTube algorithm, I found your videos 2 years ago, and I'm following you since then. And I've started my SI pitch as soon as I turned 18.
Lovely.
And my parents were like against stock market. So whenever my father started to getting into it, there's some sort of scam happening, like since 1990s. So he's coming against it. And at some point after, maybe after 2 years or 1 year, I have to say him that I was investing in since starting of my college. So how to convince my parents? How to convince the typical Indian mindset?
Isn't it cute? Don't you remember being 18? And this is like जिंदगी की सबसे बड़ी फाइट होती थी कि माँ बाप को कैसे ना पकड़ने से रोक. It's endearing. Are you trying to convince your parents to invest in stocks, or are you trying to tell them that you have been investing?
I was investing.
Why do you have to tell them? Sorry, I'm being very, very immoral right now.
Like 2 months ago, my father was just using my phone and there's a notification from Apple.
You like uncommon reliance. Okay, I get that. You know, the best way to do that, I know I shouldn't say the best way to do that, but a safe way to do that is to actually not put all of your money in stocks. Because frankly, that's not even the smartest way to do it. And I hope that you haven't put all your money in crypto or anything like that. But no, it has to be a nice, happy allocation. There is some that goes into fixed returns, some that goes into stocks, some that goes into perhaps crypto as well, 5-10% or more. And at the end of it, you just have to tell them, I am actually, you know what, as I'm saying it, it sounds like वो माँ बाप मानेंगे नहीं. यार देखो जितनी देर तक avoid कर सकते, you understand Hindi?
Yeah.
जितनी देर तक avoid कर सकते हो करो, because it's very, very hard for them to understand, and you have to understand why, because they've come from a very difficult and different generation. They're like 1992, Harshad Mehta, so on and so forth. So don't try and convince them. Just be under the radar. Don't be like that. Return dekhe mere papa. Never like that, right? So it has to be completely under the radar. And whenever they find out, admit that this is what you did, seek for forgiveness, and then ask for permission. You may still not get it, and that's perfectly fine. Stop at that point of time. And when you start earning, which will be very soon, by the way, at that point of time, you will be able to take your own financially independent decisions. So don't be in a hurry to hide, lie, be conniving, and so on. If they find out, apologize, ask for permission. If they give it, great. Most likely they won't. Stop. And then once you start earning, start investing it. At that point of time, they will have nothing to say. Got it? ठीक है, try करना, पर मुझे बताना कैसा गया. Thank you. Okay, next. You will have to, at some point in time, Soumya, just stop me. Huh?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So you spoke about how it's important not to have a goal and how you didn't have a goal. But is there any difference between not having a goal and not being ambitious? I mean, do you see both of these things as similar, or it's you can just go ahead in life without an ambition as well?
No, terrific question. No, they are not the same. Not having a goal does not amount to not being ambitious. You can be ambitious as fuck, but you still don't want to put a timeline to a target. So here's the definition of a goal, which is very important to understand. It's a quantifiable destination, and you attach a timeline to it. So you say, मैं 30 साल की उम्र में Mercedes खरीदूंगा. That's a goal or a target. If you hit there, you feel great about yourself, but you could have actually bought, who knows, Land Rover. I don't know if it's more expensive or not. I'm not into cars. Or you did hit it and you felt shitty about yourself. Mercedes bhi nahi le paya 30 saal mein, I'm such a loser. Both of these are unwarranted emotions because you had no basis to decide कि 30 saal mein Mercedes. It was just a desire converted into a goal and then forced a timeline upon. It's the stupidest way to live life. If you really think about it. Random तुम्हारी कोई इच्छा है, जैसे तुम्हारी एक salary की इच्छा होगी, and then you will put वो salary की इच्छा, and then you will put a timeline to it. Day 1 तक इतने की salary चाहिए, which doesn't make sense because you could get that salary on day 24 as well, or maybe never get that salary because you perhaps never deserved it, not pointing to you. So don't set that. But ambition is, I will continue to grow in my life. I'll continue to be the best in what I do. I'll continue to be happy wherever I am. I'll continue to make enough money that I never have to think about money. That is a process. It's a journey. It is not a destination. And that's the big difference, at least according to me. And I've lived by that through and throughout. So please don't confuse that. Yes.
So, what are the major changes in your belief systems when it comes to entrepreneurship that you've experienced after you started angel investing?
Oh.
Do you look at companies differently now?
My biggest shift ever since I've started angel investing, and that's been about 6 years now, is one, it is intensely hard to make money in angel investing because it is random. Two, the over-indexing on founders is wrong because even the best people cannot crack a hard market, and even the not so smart as people can crack a really good market if the timing is right and the market is big. And the third one has been that most startups do not fail because of money, actually fail because they never found product market fit. And they just kept blinding themselves that they have, but they truly never had a business. They never had a business. And at least my investments, all of those which have failed, I mean, singularly because of who business tha hi nahi karta. Or now kabhi bana paye. And the ones who made it, or like they had a business from day one, they used the money immaculately well. They rode a lucky period of being in the right market at the right time and so on. And that is how my frame of reference has changed. So today, and I tend to like people very easily because I'm very trusting. So it's really hard for me to be a good investor, which is why I think I'm a bad investor. So I will try and not meet the founder for as long as possible. Just be very objective about business kya hai, kitne achhe se kar rahe hain, kya idea hai, and so on. And only towards the end use the founder as more of a yes or a no than a parameter of judgment. So I'm over-indexed on the market opportunity and the way that they are approaching the market. And if that is in the right order, then I feel even quote unquote mediocre people can do.
You know the last question.
I'm good.
Okay, last question.
I've raised my hand 7 times.
Yes, please. 7. 7, sorry, 7. Because you can only find it out. Yes.
Okay, so I'm Bhajav. In 2019, I founded a startup. It was an idea that I loved, but I could just not able to make it that profitable. We were bootstrapped, we were marginally profitable. And we sort of didn't like make the cut. But again, I had to switch to a job. I worked on the job for about 6 months, 7 months. I found an idea which it wasn't an idea, it was more like a business. I found it and I thought, okay, now I'm going to work on this. I was able to make it work. It was profitable. We're scaling up still, but I'm not able to get over the first startup that I founded. So I keep trying to go back and try to make it work. Like every
Pehla pyar. Bulana mushkil hai dost.
So then there is a founder who told me like, if you can't make an idea work in 45 days, it's not meant for you, or like you're a bad founder. So either of those things. So I don't know, like I'm not able to get over it, but I think I still love the idea and the initial effort that I put in.
So here is the very clear truth that I'm sure you know of, but I would love to repeat it back to you. You are only illusioned by the fact that that startup did not work because you were a failure and you want to prove to yourself that you're not. You subconsciously or consciously, and perhaps because of what your friend, mentor, whosoever said, failure or startup bekar hai, you are living with the belief that you were never good enough to make it work, and somebody else actually is good enough to make it work.
Yeah, Airbnb was able to make it work
Well,
within the experience.
So you are actually not in love with the idea.
No,
You are. Oh no, I'm just telling you the truth. So you can deny that, but this is my truth of how I see you. You're not in love with the idea. You are in love with you winning at that idea, which is a completely different thing. It's a completely different thing. It's like, I am not in love with her. I am in love with the fact that I can be with her. Huge difference. And I would love for you to drop that because you are far bigger than that. Like if you are running another place and it is profitable and you are in a better place than who you were or where you were before, please free yourself from the chains of your first startup. If you're still in love with it, go ahead and do it. You will most likely find for your own self that it was never as big as you imagined it to be. Or who knows? Don't believe me. I may be wrong and I would love to be wrong. You make another Airbnb. Do it. But again, as long as the motivation is not clear, which in my view is not, because you're not doing it for the idea, you're doing it to prove to yourself that you can do the idea, it will most likely result in a heartbreak again. Okay, thank you so much. Sorry, we have time for only this. I am I'm really thankful that you spared so much of your time, and I know how much time is important for an ISB student. I would love to stay in touch, whatever capacity I can help. It's genuinely my joy as a alum to help as many alums as I can, or students as I can. So the best way to reach out to me will be my email address. It's warikoo@gmail.com. That's my last name @gmail.com. Please write me an email. I read all my emails. So I will read yours. If you can specify the ISB context, I will make sure that I reply to it as well, even if it's not well written. And the hardest time, and this is the last thing I'll say, I promise. The hardest time for you in the next 1 year will be when placements start. Because that's when you will truly find your true friends and your true self. And it will be fucking miserable. It is not going to be hard. It will be intensely, acutely miserable, because you will see how you were actually not happy for your friend as you thought you were, because they got that job that you were also craving for. You will realize that some of the friends who thought, or you thought were the best friends that could help you, are frankly not there. They were always competing. And you will realize at how much you have chained yourself to an outcome where you have frankly paralyzed yourself, that you can't even think straight. And at that point of time, here's the unfortunate truth. You will feel lonely. You will call up people that you think will understand you, but nobody will. And don't expect it. Nobody knows what you're going through. They never will. It's your battle to fight, and I wish you well. Some will succeed, some won't. But trust me, if you play that battle well, you will be proud of the scars that you will be left behind you. And after a few years, when we will meet again in a nice, happy environment, you'll actually be remembering the time, hopefully with fond memories, but most importantly, you will recognize that how that period shaped you up in a way that you have no idea. The best thing is you will forget all that I said tomorrow. Okay, thank you so much.
This is the first I-Speak session we're having, and couldn't have been better. Thank you so much for coming. We have something from my bench that I for you and Nritya for coming here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. एक बच्चे को ठीक ना